What if regret wasn't the worst thing in the world? What if for one moment you could look back on everything that troubles you not as burdens on your soul but as material for your strength? It's a universal. Every single human being you hold in esteem, every hero, every poet, every mother, every child has suffered through it. It's a nagging thought that comes back in times of quiet, a whisper in the farthest reaches of your mind. I could have done better. I should have spoken up. I should have left. I should have stayed. Regret is memory with teeth. But here's something we don't talk about much. Regret isn't the enemy. It's the beginning. See, we're conditioned to come at regret as if it's something to hide, as if it's something you must cover up with positivity, with distraction or hustle. But if you truly wish to grow, if you truly wish to change, then you cannot turn away from regret. You must sit down and talk to it. You must meet it like an old friend you've been holding at arm's length for years. You must listen. And in listening, change begins. We're not going to make it sound easy that regret is. It's not. It's the ache of what might have been, what was lost, what wasn't said. It's heavy because it's something meaningful. But in pain there is a message. Regret's a sign that you care. You have expectations. You have ideals. You can look at yourself. So let's try to do something new here and now. Regret is not weakness. It's proof that you're alive. The Stoics, those tough around the edges old philosophers who lived, not merely spoke, but lived, were very healthy in their attitude toward regret. Marcus Aurelius wrote one time, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good person should be. Be one." He did not instruct us beat yourself up for who you weren't. He did not instruct us relive the past 1,000 times. He commanded begin now. Because the past, it is holy. We can't repeat it. We can't get it right. But we can make it forgivable. That's the secret. The past becomes significant the moment you build something new upon it. Regret is strength when it is reduced to wisdom. When it becomes firepower, not an open wound. Think about this. Some of the strongest, kindest, wisest people you've ever met are that way because of what they've been through. Because they messed up. Because they hurt someone. Because they lost something they couldn't get back. And instead of letting that break them, they paid attention. They let it sculpt them. So ask yourself, what if your biggest regret is not something that has happened to you, but something that may turn your life around? Let's be real. Think of something you wish you had done differently. Right this moment. Something you never told someone. Something you never attempted. Someone you hurt. Something you never tried. Let it come up. No judgment. Just look at it. Now ask yourself, what was missing in me back then? Was it courage? Self-assurance? Patience? Wisdom? Regret is a mirror. It reflects back to you who you used to be. But more, it can reflect to you who you still may be. Because in every regret there's a value. We regret not having love because connection is something we hold dear. We regret having wounded others because compassion means a lot to us. We regret wasted time because purpose is something we value. So your regret, it's a map. Walk it and it will bring you to what matters most. Now is the trap that all of us fall into. They become resentful and their regret is identity. They start saying to themselves, I always mess things up. I'm a wimp. I'm not dependable. I'm not good enough. That is not reflection. That is self-punishment. That is shame masquerading as honesty. But you're not the decisions you've made along the way. You're the decision maker, the writer, the one who still gets to write the next page. Regardless of how ugly the past is, the pen is still in your hand. And certainly it's okay to hurt. You don't necessarily have to rush on to silver linings. Transcendence is a process that includes grieving. It is tolerating pain. It is criticizing yourself. Why did I act this way? Without racing into self-hatred. That's adulthood. That's power. That's how you turn poison into medicine. Consider regret as a wound. If you ignore it, pretend it doesn't exist, it rots. It infects your mind. It bears shame. But if you take care of it, look at it, learn from it, tend to it, it will begin to heal. And that healing, that is where your power is. There is a beautiful symmetry here, the weight of looking backward and the alchemy of becoming. You may know your regrets to the end without allowing them to conquer you. You may be stringent about change and carefree about life. Actually, that's the secret of powerful people's beat. They feel it all intensely and they just laugh. They keep moving. They keep moving. Because life isn't about not feeling pain. It's about finding meaning. And there is nothing more meaningful than to emerge from something which had been holding you back. So where do we begin? We begin with truth. Sit down with your guilt and write it out. Not naggingly, but exposingly. What did you do wrong? What did you learn? What would you do differently today? Then promise, not to be better, but to use what you know now. If you've hurt someone, apologize if you can. If you've wasted time, recapture what matters. If you betrayed yourself, return to yourself. You don't need to make sweeping public apologies. Quiet healing is transformation in any case. You don't need a do-over from the world, you need one from yourself. That's the way of this path. Healing regret isn't erasure. It's bringing it into your now without letting it hold you back. Here's a powerful thing: all regret is a door, but forgiveness is the key that opens the door. Not other folks' forgiveness, but self-forgiveness. Forgiveness isn't that you're okay with what happened. It's that you release the self-hatred so you can move forward with a clear mind. It is that you can finally affirm, yes, that did happen, but I am larger. I'm the one who gets to determine what happens next. So that is the truth. You do not eliminate regret. You grow out of it. You move in a manner that the lessons of your own history reverberate forward into strength, into compassion, into wisdom. And as you move, something wild and gorgeous happens. The thing that most hurt you the very worst is the thing that now trusts you the most. Not because you never gave up, but because you got up. Breathe. Look back. What pain in your life continues to speak through the silence? What is the lesson in that pain awaiting translation into power? Share it on in the comments below. I'll share one thing you've learned from regret. You never know, your story could be the fuel for someone else's transformation. Now think about this: you get to travel back in time and sit down with your younger self, not to harangue them, not to yell at them, but to understand. To sit beside them at the very moment that they made that mistake. Would you yell, or would you stop and listen? We all, most of us, bear around us regret as a guilty secret. We relive things we believe that if we take them apart tough enough, we will hit a point of peace. But peace never ever results from reliving the moment. Peace results from reframing the moment. You weren't wrecked. You were developing. Even when the destruction was tremendous, even when other people were hurt, you were in process. And here's where life philosophy really comes into its own. Everything that has ever occurred in your life can be distilled into a more profound version of you. A better, a more compassionate, a more grounded you. Not in spite of the regret, but because of it. This is the alchemy of transmutation. Sorrow into wisdom. Shame into knowledge. Memory into meaning. And if you're paying attention, this alchemy is not rare. It's everywhere. It's in the recovering addict who rescues others now from obscurity. It's in the parent who screwed up their kid but now shows up whole every day. It's in the person who lost faith in a dream for far too long to only return with twice the fervor and half the ego. Regret isn't a missed opportunity. It's a knowing of why it matters. There's a smart sort of beauty in those who fought with their past and came out tender and not tough. Not all of them do. Some let regret harden them. They erect fences. They anesthetize. They hide behind never trying again. That isn't strength. That is giving up. Being vulnerable is strength. Being willing to try one more time, knowing what it costs when you fail. It's the bravery to love when you've been hurt. To speak up when you've been quiet. To forgive when you've been hurt. It's the choice to take all that you've learned and construct something authentic from it. Let's dig a bit deeper. Regret generally has an identity lesson in it. We regret when we weren't authentic. We regret when we compromise on our values to fit in, to be liked, to not hurt. So I want to ask you, who am I today? And more, who am I meant to be now that I have determined what matters? Regret is the shadow that acknowledges the light of your ideals exists. It reveals to you that you know there is a better you, and that's something to be cherished. Here's something Stoics used to believe that will blow your mind. They did not dwell on perfection. They had no never-fail mindset. They competed in virtue, the regular practice of wisdom, courage, justice, and self-control. And when you mess up, they'd say, mark it, own it, and get on with it with grit. No drama, no spiral, just this: all right, I whiffed the hit. How do I swing it better next time? There's a childlike freedom to thinking like this. a playful kind of seriousness. You can fail because you can grow. You're not a statue, you're a work in progress. So what are you going to do with your regret today? First, stop concealing it. Not so much from the world, but from yourself. Bring it out into the light. Say it out loud. Write it down. Claim it. Because the instant you cease pretending it never occurred is the instant you begin reclaiming your power. Second, take the value. Ask, what did this regret teach me about myself? What was the strength that I gleaned from this suffering? How will you use this lesson to make future decisions that you'll be proud of? Third, do it. Do at least a little bit of something that says I am no longer that version of me. It could be a call, a promise to yourself, returning to something you love. You don't have to rewrite your entire life in one night. You just have to start acting like the lesson mattered. And finally, forgive. Not once. Over and over and over as many times as you have to. Not because what they did was right, but because you deserve to be at peace. And keeping it inside doesn't make you awesome, you makes you stagnant. This is hard but freeing to say. You deserve to rise above the one who did the harm. You deserve to rewrite the story. You can move from shame to service, regret to responsibility, burden to wisdom. And perhaps most powerfully of all is, your regret can be made lighter for another human being. Your story healed and worked through can be the very thing that enables another human being to feel seen, less alone, more hopeful. So don't just turn regret into personal strength. Transmute it into strength of community. Share your story. Live with integrity. Be the one to say, I've been there. I know how it feels. And here's what I learned on the other side. That's how we save the past, not just by changing ourselves, but by bringing others along with us. Regret, after all, when purified, is holy. It's the soul's way of pushing you toward your best you. It doesn't say to you, you are ruined. It says to you, you are ready. Ready to listen. Ready to learn. Ready to love without fear, speak without shame, and walk forward with both humility and strength. So next time regret whispers to you, don't push it away. Say, thank you. I'm listening. Let's build something better. That's not weakness. That's wisdom. That's not failure. That's becoming. That's the quiet fire of someone who fought the past and chose to rise. Now it's your turn. What regret have you turned to strength? Or what are you still struggling to let go of? Tell us in the comments. Someone else may be traveling the same journey, and your story can be the light they didn't know they needed.